Hey guys, it's Sasha, and today I wanted to talk to you about Teammates. Teammates is a wonderful, wonderful program. I personally had a mentor when I was growing up, so I think that the mentoring programs are super important. Teammates is a school-based mentoring program, meaning that mentors and mentees meet in school once a week to build a friendship. In a recent survey, almost 90% of mentees said that they were proud to be a part of Teammates. Teammates serves all kids. Any kid in grades 3 through 12 can be a mentee. And mentors are safe, caring adults. You don't have to be an expert. You just have to show up and be there. Due to the pandemic, they've had thousands of kids who have had to wait a year or more for a mentor. If you're interested in mentoring a child today, go to teammates.org to apply.
Shut up. Stay in your lane.
Welcome to the Mind Your Own podcast with Aaron Sorensen and Sasha Durkin, where we stick to sports, except when we're not.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Mind Your Own podcast. I'm Erin.
I'm Sasha.
And we are 1 week from 1 year of this podcast. Not 52 episodes, like I was going to say 52nd episodes. We're not, we technically haven't done like a year's worth of episodes, but the first recording would be 1 week from now. So this podcast, just full transparency, is going to be a little bit shorter. Both Sasha and I are kind of just exhausted. I woke up with a migraine this morning. So we're going to keep it a little bit on the shorter side this week and then really have a good time next week to celebrate at least 1 year of the existence of the Mind Your Own podcast.
Yes.
So Sasha, I have to tell you something.
Okay.
So often we start recording these podcasts and like before we start, I like don't want to say too much to you because we then get into it in the podcast. And so I felt bad because like before we were recording, I'm like, I could just sit here and talk to you for an hour about what we're going to talk about. So I guess let's talk about it. First and foremost, how are you? It's a rainy day when we're recording.
Yeah.
It feels like it matches my mood.
I know. Well, and I don't know if this is just me. It's probably not. I've learned because of social media that every single thing that I think may be unique to me is not unique at all. On days like this, I legitimately just want to lay in bed and not do anything. Like with my dog, my husband doesn't have to work today because he does outside stuff. And I'll have to share a picture with you. It's very adorable. But I was like, they're like cuddling this morning. I'm like, oh my God, why do I have to do anything today?
Yep. It's days like this or when it's like snowing and you just wish like I could just, these are days where like I have to go to post practice in Lincoln. And so it's just kind of like, it's fine. You think through your footwear on days like today, because it's like, what am I willing to basically sludge through 4 inches of rain? Yeah. Because I was woken up in the middle of the night and it was just pouring, just absolutely pouring, which I mean, you're an adult when you're like, well, the yard sure loves it.
Right. We need the rain.
But it was a doozy. And I'm like confident I'm going to be like walking through water. Literally walking on water, not because I'm special, just because that's literally everything is underwater.
For sure. Yeah. I woke up super late / early this morning and it was just lightning and super windy and you could just hear the rain pelting the house. So yeah.
Well, also speaking of like things, bad weather, for anyone who might be listening to this, or if you know anyone who is in Louisiana or in the South that was in the path of Hurricane Ida, like thinking of you, it really, like, I was watching that unfold on social media because anymore it's like that's just kind of like where you can absorb the information quickly. And just knowing, that was the 16th anniversary of Hurricane Katrina. And it's just climate change is real because this is the fact that like meteorologists are telling us that not only are storms becoming more frequent, they're becoming more powerful. It just, I have a friend who lives in New Orleans and had evacuated the city to his parents' house in Baton Rouge, which Baton Rouge got hit pretty hard. But at least in their case, when we talk about flooding, they weren't going to have to necessarily worry about dealing with flooding from being physically present. I haven't been able to check in as far as how things are going. He's shared some updates here and there on social, but has also said that his cell service is down. So it's just kind of like, not wanting to bother, but just wanting to know that like they're okay. So like for any of you who maybe live in that area or someone who does, just like no words can really express like just the heartbreak that you have to go through this. And it shouldn't be like this. Like obviously hurricanes are a thing that exist, but they shouldn't have to be this frequent and this bad. And I don't know. I can tell my head still kind of hurts a little bit because I don't have a really eloquent way of putting that. So it just the easiest way for me to say it's shit. Like, I'm sorry. Yeah. Like it's just shitty.
Yeah, it really is. There are several ways, if I know that we're in Nebraska, but if you look up ways that you can help, there's several different avenues you can take. If you'd like to donate money, if you'd like to send care packages, there are several different resources that can help the folks that are being affected by this. And if that's something that's on your radar and that you'd like to do, I would, it's a quick Google search, and we could probably even link some of the different ways that you can help in the show notes.
Absolutely. Because in fact, I can link them in the show notes on hailvarsity.com. So when the show goes live, if you're thinking like, how can I go get some more, head over to Hail Varsity and I'll put some links in there, because I saw some people, I want to just say, actually, that's a really great point quickly. There's so many different avenues to help. I saw a couple of people tweeting about don't donate to the Red Cross, donate to local organizations. I don't love that recommendation. If the Red Cross is your outlet, if the Red Cross is the way that you can make an immediate impact by donating, your resources will get there. They are currently providing food, water, and temporary shelter. Now, obviously, the American Red Cross is a national entity. So to a degree, yes, there's a chance that like a portion of your money donated, depending on like I haven't looked. Oftentimes the Red Cross will specify if you're donating to something, like the money has to be used for that. Sometimes if you're just donating generally, it can go just about anywhere. It could go to wildfires. But like your money is still being used toward people in situations that need it. But I mean, if you're somebody who's like, I want to donate, there's a local nonprofit in Louisiana called Imagine Waterworks. They focus on climate justice, water management, and disaster preparedness and response. There's a number of mutual aid, disaster relief, different. I'll link NPR, not NPR. I can't read words this morning, or letters. PBS had a really good, in my opinion, list of different resources, different places, like even like the Cajun Navy Relief organizing volunteers. So we'll link that, because I think in times of like, I even think about like, a lot of people have said, especially with everything that has happened in the last couple of weeks surrounding Afghanistan, how can I help refugees? How can I do something? I'm completely disheartened. There's never going to be enough that can be done. I think that's the piece that's sometimes so daunting, but don't allow that to be a reason that you don't do something, even if it's like, I've heard people who are like, I only have $5. $5 can move mountains. So like, and if you're like, I don't have any money to give, retweeting something, sharing, amplifying voices, news stories that need to be seen, that goes a long way too. It doesn't have to be about money. It doesn't have to be about like the resources that you may not be able to give away right now because you need them for yourself. Never put yourself in a bad spot trying to donate if you don't have that. But like, there's so many different, and I'll even link for anyone who's still, because I know in the last like day, especially as like troops have officially pulled out of Afghanistan for good after 20 years of being located there. There's a lot of, like we talked about, those complex feelings on a recent episode. I know, like, I've been just observing the way people have responded to this, and it's hard because I don't have the words to formulate for it, but it feels like if you're somebody who just feels like I need to do something, there are resources of how you can either, like I said, donate your time, donate money, or just donate your platform, whether that's 10 followers, 100,000 followers, it doesn't matter. There's ways that you can make a difference, and your impact is significant no matter what you think. So I could go on a long tangent about this forever, but we can link resources for both Hurricane Ida victims and Afghan refugees, especially for those that are concerned about the individuals who've been left behind at this point.
Yeah.
There are people who are still working. All right. And I also as we're talking about linking different things, there's another thing I'm going to link because they are a phenomenal account. It's on TikTok and Instagram, but it's Under the Desk News. They do just such a nice job of the profile says nice side of news talk. They are just incredible. They report from under their desk, which is kind of fun, but it's all very level-headed. It's very it just you gain something from it. The knowledge is the information is so well thought out. It's presented in a really digestible format, but it also they provide ways that you can get involved, ways that you can keep learning. I love it because it's also a reminder of like, hey, you're okay, because the Monday episode that was the final one for Monday evening ended with "you're okay." And sometimes I think we just need to hear that you're okay. And I don't know why I was okay. I want to just be completely honest about this. I'm struggling through talking about this because I had Sasha re-record this little part when I was talking about this account. And I want to tell you why. I misidentified this person's pronouns. I actually had not seen in their bio that they identify they, them. And I feel awful that I hadn't noticed that before, but I did really, it was important to me that Sasha cut that part out and I re-record because I don't want to put that into the world, misidentifying those pronouns. Somebody recently said something, this is a total tangent episode at this point. We do have a point, but if you ever misidentify pronouns, or if you ever, it's something that like is an easy fix. It's not hard to go back and say, I'm going to make a change. I now know, and I'm going to be better about recognizing this is what this person has asked. And it's not hard to make that change.
It's really not.
I'm kind of stumbling over my words now because I feel like a little flustered that I followed this account for a while now, and I had not ever noticed the bio. And that kind of stinks because I don't want to misrepresent somebody. And again, it's Under the Desk News. You need to follow them. They do such an incredible job of presenting the news, and they've done such an incredible job through all of the news surrounding Afghanistan of presenting that in a really digestible way. But also reminding us how we can get involved, how our voices matter, our platforms matter, no matter how small or big, and that you're okay. Like, you're okay. You can have bad days. And I really appreciate that account. It's somebody that I strive to be more like.
Yeah. And the way that they present the news, first of all, their voice is very soothing.
Oh, so soothing.
And then they also it's literally like just facts. It's straight, it's facts. Factual information. It doesn't skew one way or the other. It's literally just the facts of the situation. They don't try to push you one way or another. They're just trying to present the information so that people can be informed. And I really, really appreciate that, because I think a lot of times it can be sometimes exhausting, and they have a way of making consuming the news not exhausting.
Absolutely. And to them, I'm sorry, like, even though no one will hear it necessarily, but I am sorry for misidentifying. Gosh, that is something that, like, a learning opportunity for me for the week. I need to keep looking at people's bios because they tell you. It's just like when somebody tells you, this is my name. Like,
yes,
it's not hard. I just had not ever, I guess, like, opened the bio necessarily. And well, learning opportunity.
Yes. I think that this kind of like lends itself really well to what we were going to talk about today, which is just being exhausted.
And not exhausted, by the way. I want to clarify. Sasha doesn't mean exhausted by like news or people or like just exhausted in general.
Yes.
And I think we actually both, I had asked her if this podcast this week could be a little shorter because I'm just feel like I'm like really frantic. Like I just feel like I'm all over the place. I woke up with that migraine and I'm just trying to kind of be cognizant of, for people who've been listening to this podcast since the beginning, you know that we talked about this last fall when we talked about like when things go back to quote unquote normal, whatever that means, what are the things that we want to take that we've learned during quarantine into our future? And one of the things for me was being mindful of my own time and not becoming so consumed with work that I let other things go. Well, spoiler alert, I have not been very good at that. This last weekend with Nebraska's first game, I was getting like 5 hours of sleep. That's just not great for me. I'm feeling the effects of it. I think probably a little bit of the migraine has to do with that. Also probably has to do with the weather and allergies, but it doesn't matter. Basically everything I said I wanted to be better about, just out the window, just gone, absolutely just gone. Just see you later.
I had like the same exact situation last week. It didn't matter what my intentions were. I wasn't going to get more than 5 hours of sleep on a given day.
No.
A lot of, really long 12-hour days every single day. I help move my grandma, which is also like a stressful thing because she needs to be in town, but like not being able to, it can be a lot. And I think that you said it really well before we started recording. Like, I am where I'm supposed to be. I firmly believe that I landed where I was supposed to land. It doesn't mean that I don't love my job. It just means that sometimes it can be a lot. And when you've got a lot on your plate and you're not able to spread yourself as equally and as balanced as you'd like to, whether that be with work or family or, there was no balance for me last week. I made damn sure that I got my workouts in because that's important to me, but I also had to get up super early in order to fit that in my day. But then on the other side of that, then I got work done. And then I didn't have a whole lot of time to spend with my family last week. It was like 8:00 and I'm like, dude, I'm so sorry. Like, I am just exhausted. Like, I have to go to bed because I have to get up at 4:30 tomorrow morning. And I think that sometimes the balance can be taken for granted. And I definitely feel like I took the normal balance I have in my life for granted last week. And I just spread myself too thin.
Yeah. And that's, something that really bothered me last week. And I thought about this comment more than I really should, but unfortunately, this is kind of when we talk about things like when words matter, like words do matter and what you say to people matters. And so being intentional, whether that's calling someone by the correct name or getting in, like not, maybe if you see something on your timeline and you don't like it, choosing to scroll by versus chime in and ruin that person's day. I made a joke on Twitter last week and somebody or maybe it was even 2 weeks ago now, it doesn't matter. But somebody responded essentially to be like, oh, woe is you. Like, the thing I have found with having a job that other people think is like, quote unquote, a dream job. And this is a dream job. I want to be clear. Like, this is a job that like I could not have dreamed of having growing up. Like, I am very fortunate and I love what I do. That doesn't mean that there aren't hard days. It doesn't mean I don't have days where I'm just physically exhausted, mentally exhausted. And sometimes I just want to share that because I think it's important when we can talk openly about like, this is something that's really hard. This is something I'm dealing with. Other people can then chime in and go, yeah, same. I'm feeling the exact same way. And that feeling of community makes it easier. But when you're met with people who so quickly want to just go, oh, woe is you, like it's defeating because then you start to feel like, well, what am I missing here? What am I missing about what I'm doing that like why, like it's making you feel ungrateful. It's making you feel like you should just go, oh, you're right. I'm happy. Everything's great. And, you know, it's things like, this is the stuff that people don't realize. And I also want to preface this by, this is totally fine. I'm not upset about it. But in the time that we've been recording this podcast, I got an email about when practice is going to end, and it is now ending apparently 15 minutes sooner than I was expecting it to today. So now my morning has changed. I have to now get on the road at a time where I know I'm going to be like trying to get out the door. It was raining this morning when I was trying to let my dogs out. I'm going to have to let them back out before I can go. So I'm having this whole thing now where it's like, that's not there. Like, it's not Nebraska's fault that they changed the practice time by 15 minutes. It's not like they needed to consult with me and go like, hey, Erin, are you good with this? Absolutely not. But yeah, that just did change my morning a little bit. And the stress that I feel from that is warranted and valid. I can feel overwhelmed. Like, good thing I don't need to get gas in my car this morning, because like sometimes I do. Like, these are things that like we all deal with in our jobs. We deal with things that are unexpected, things that come up, things that are hard. I mean, right now, like Nebraska fans are very upset with what's going on. And you take a lot of that on. And it's not because I don't love my job. It's not that I don't appreciate the fact that I'm here. It's just, there's a lot that you are asked to absorb. And then when you ever dare to say, you know what, I'm feeling a little worn out, I'm feeling a little beat up, I've spent 48 hours reading people yelling about things on the internet, and it's not great for my mental health, but it's my job, so I've got to do it. To have somebody come along and go, well, oh, what was you, is such a like defeating thing to do to someone, because it's basically saying your feelings are not valid. Suck it up and enjoy your job. It is the worst stick to sports way that you can go about that, because it's basically saying appreciate your job and say nothing else. Right.
Stop being a human being because you're here for our entertainment is what that says to me. And I think that I say this a lot, I feel like on this podcast, but like, if you are driven to say something like that to someone, regardless of if they work in sports or not, like, how would you feel if someone said that to you? You're stressed out at your job. You're pissed off about this, that, and I'm not saying that anyone's pissed off here. I'm just saying like you have a complaint, you're taking on too much, and you said that out loud and someone said to you, okay, basically middle finger, deal with it. Like, I don't feel like it's not constructive to anybody. And I don't understand how that would even make the other person who is actually saying that out loud, like, feel better. Like, if you don't have something nice to say, then just don't say it. It's really that easy to just not say it. Just everybody has struggles on a day-to-day basis. And, you know, there's, like you said, we talked about this on a recent episode, like there's a lot of complex things going on in the world right now. There's a lot of things going on, whether that be with the state of Nebraska football, whether that be with, you know, for me last week, we were putting on a concert on Saturday. And we had a lot of people in town for the network, and it was just a lot. I'm not complaining that it was a lot. I actually put out a tweet, but then deleted it because I didn't want people to think I was complaining about work, because I really wasn't. But it was like, at what point does a cluster F become a plot point on a map? And why do I keep driving here every day? Like, to that destination. It just is what it is sometimes. And sometimes life is a cluster F and it sucks. And it just is what it is. It's not that anyone's complaining. It's not that we're taking for granted that we both have jobs that we love or are in a place that some people, you know, maybe that's their dream job, but they didn't they didn't go down that path or whatever. It just, sometimes life is shit. It piles up on you, and it just is what it is. It doesn't mean that anyone's like complaining or not grateful for what they have. Sometimes life just sucks, and it gets to be a lot.
And, you know, the thing is like we both are very fortunate to have the jobs that we do. I don't take my job for granted. I don't, because I always the thing with the world of sports and journalism, this world of journalism in general, but also in sports journalism, is that I always am keenly aware that like things can end at any moment. Like I remember when I was with Land of 10 and finding out on a Wednesday morning that an hour and a half from the time we got an email telling us we had an all company call, like in that hour and a half, like knowing like we're about to find out that we're all without jobs, like that happens in this world very frequently. So like I'm very fortunate to have my job. I'm very fortunate to Hail Varsity and to Hurrdat, you know, for existing and for believing in Hail Varsity, and our owner for believing in Hail Varsity, because it's something that like the world of journalism is hard. And the other thing that's kind of like, I guess the last thing I'll say on that, this is always really hard for me too, is when things go bad. So like in the case of like Nebraska football, when things go bad, people hold their dollar over you as a like kind of this thing that like, if you report on this, I'm a subscriber and I'll unsubscribe. Or if you report on that, and they're all contradicting, to be honest. Like it's like one person doesn't want you to talk about this. One person says, if you don't talk about this, but the amount of times, even in the last week where I've had people who have threatened to not subscribe or threatened to cancel their subscriptions or have threatened whatever because of like, well, I don't like that you wrote this, or I don't like that you're not writing this, or I don't like that you did this, or I don't like. It sucks because I've always felt, and I still do feel this way. I feel this way every single day. Hail Varsity has always been incredibly fair in its coverage. And I don't believe that like we report on anything that's not accurate. That's not, I'm really proud of the team that we have and the work that we do. Sometimes when you write fair and accurate coverage, it's not what people want to hear, but it's just the truth. It's just reality. But having people hold that over you, like I understand consumers have power. Absolutely. Yeah. We all have power, like to make a difference. And if somebody is doing something, but like in that case, to hold it over somebody who like, I can't control the outcome of things. I can't control, it stinks. It just sucks. Yeah. It's not a good feeling.
The thing to remember too, like, I don't think that any interaction I've had with our listeners, I don't pick up that though they are the people that we're speaking about, but I think that it's, if you want to talk about unfair, it's unfair to do that to I want to say organization or a magazine or media conglomerate like Hail Varsity, because honestly, you guys, like, they're just doing their jobs, just like anybody locally that's writing on this, just like anybody nationally that's talking about this. I think, and I'm not being biased, like in my honest opinion, before I ever like was actually working with you, Erin, any conversation that you and I had like off the air or just about anything, I personally think that you guys are like some of the most fair coverage in Nebraska, for Nebraska football, for any Nebraska athletic program. And to come at Hail Varsity and be like, I'm going to take my dollar away because you are unhappy with the product on the field. They're not controlling that. Are they on the coaching staff? I don't think so. They're literally just reporting on the things that are happening and giving a pretty unbiased opinion on what is actually happening. And so
the ironic part about what you just said, I do appreciate that, because the ironic part is in the time that we've been recording this, so this is the thing. Somebody a day or two ago informed us that we're too negative, and for that reason, like blah, 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 blah. Another person just tweeted at us just now and told us that basically thanking us for publishing positivity. And it's like, it's all in the eye of the beholder. To one person, it's positive. To one person, it's negative. That's the thing, is like, that's why we always strive for fair and accurate, because at the end of the day, I can't change how you perceive that. If you perceive fair and accurate coverage as negative, if you perceive it as positive, I can't fix that. But yeah, it's just one of those things where, and to be to be fair, Sasha, not that we need to like just spend the entire time telling each other how great we are, but like Sasha and her team do incredible work. They're so busy. They're constantly adding more to their plate and making people feel like rock stars when they don't have like the time for themselves, but like you always give time to everyone else. And so I know I speak on behalf of like so many people that you are so very appreciated. I think for like our listeners, Sasha's right. I never think that about our listeners. Our listeners, you all are great. You like, you hype us up. You are the absolute hype people. And I love you for it.
You want to talk about fair opinions. Like, honestly, I love the fact that like I feel like our listeners are just like, I can't think of words right now, but you've got people from both sides, right? But it's like that fair meeting place in the middle where it's like either you agree to disagree, but you're going to be able to have a conversation about it. And any feedback that we've ever gotten or any emails, it's always like, okay, I agree with you, but what about this? And then represent their side of the, their opinion on maybe it's not agreeing, but I really, really love that. And I think that's like, I don't know. I'm really glad that we have this platform this was kind of like, tangent episode, but also being real because like we're all struggling. I'm like, honestly glad that we are not talking about what happens on Saturday because I haven't completely put together my thoughts in a very concise way.
I haven't either. So I'll let people know when I have my thoughts. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, as we get ready for, 1 year of episodes, knowing that like technically it hasn't been a year in the sense of like 52 episodes, but like a year of like the show existing, feel free to email us at mindyourownpodcast@hailvarsity.com and just, I don't know, share some thoughts. You can also tweet at us. I'm at Erin Sorensen. She's at Sasha72 because, as we've kind of evolved this podcast and like, and I know I've talked with Sasha a little bit, like there are definitely like ideas to keep evolving it. I'm just grateful for this space because, maybe that's what we'll talk about next week too, is what we love most about this space. But like for now, just the little snippet of it is just the ability to have this exist in this space because so often in sports, any kind of like non-sports stuff gets met with like, I don't want this. I don't want to hear about it. And like, yeah, we've been met with a little bit of that, but like for the most part, people have been so gracious to continue to show up. And like Sasha said, whether they agree with us or not, we've had emails from those of you who are like, I don't agree with you, but I appreciated the conversation and I appreciated being able to listen to a different perspective. And that's pretty dang cool because it's not often that you find people willing to to see it from that way. And I don't know, just thank you for being a great audience and almost like friends at this point. So many of you get mentioned on this show. Like Amy, I lost your tweet since you said it, but like, yes, thank you for like helping us formulate the show before this one. Like so many of you have just become like a part of it that it's almost like someday we'll have an episode where y'all can just sit in a room. We'll put a microphone in the middle and we'll just chat.
I would love that.
It would be fun.
I'm like on this, like we could mic drop there, but I really am appreciative of the ability to like have these conversations. Sometimes we stumble through shit, but we eventually get to where we're going. And I think that it's just really great to still be able to continue to do that. And I can't wait for next week's episode where we can it'll be just like I'm clapping in a circle. Yeah. It'll just be the hype up episode for going into, I don't know, football season or whatever. I don't know. Yeah. The next year of episodes.
Nebraska will hopefully have beaten Fordham and everyone will be happy, at least for a temporary piece of time.
Yes.
Before Buffalo.
Oh boy.
Well, because of that, I actually now, like, as you were listening to this, if anyone is wondering what we do when this podcast is over, I'm about to like literally throw everything I own into a backpack, get my dogs outside, race to Lincoln because practice just keeps on keeping on. So we'll be back next week, as always. But yeah, send us an email, mindyourownpodcast@hailvarsity.com, at Erin Sorensen, at Sasha72 on Twitter. We'd love to hear from you. My one last plug, go listen to Meathead Test Kitchen. They are on a break this week. They took a mental health break for the week, which is totally warranted. But this is a great opportunity if you're somebody who hasn't listened to go get caught up on past episodes. So love to just, if you're looking for Husker stuff, go listen to any of the Hail Varsity podcasts. Yeah. You have Straight Up Breakdown. You have the I-80 Preview podcast. If you're a Nebraska Preps person, you have Jacobs. Derek's going to be mad if I don't say the Varsity Club podcast. So anyway, there's a lot of really great podcasts on the both Hurrdat Media Network, the Hail Varsity Media Network. There's so many things to listen to. Go take, you got the time.
Go binge some podcasts.
They'll make you feel better.
Yes.
Maybe. I don't know. I haven't listened to Greg's latest podcast yet, so I don't know. He could be
pretty good. It's pretty good.
Perfect. Well, we will talk to you next week, and we appreciate you as always. Have a good one.
Bye.
A Hurrdat Media Production.